Our first guest tonight says the federal government needs to cut off funds to sanctuary jurisdictions, including the jurisdiction of the state of California. And the time is now for Congress to act on securing our border and building President Trump's wall. Joining us tonight, Congressman Mark Meadows, a member of several key committees, including Foreign Affairs and Oversight and Government Reform, also chairman of the influential House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, great to have you with us. Let's start with the wall.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Lou.
It's great to see you. To see the president with those prototypes, here we are, almost 14 months into his administration, and there's been, at best, glacial movement on the wall.
Right.
How committed, how soon will Americans who voted for President Trump see that wall?
Well, I think you saw with the travel today that this president is committed to it, Lou. One of the interesting things is members in both the House and the Senate that seem to really be dragging their feet and not giving the funding. So we have an opportunity to do just that. Here on March 23rd, we have an omnibus, as you well know, that's coming up that will actually fund the entire government. I believe that we need to put money in for the wall. Perhaps one of the pay-fors, Lou, would be this. Let's take some of that money that is going to these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states who refuse to uphold the rule of law and make sure that their communities are safe. Perhaps we take that money back and we make it as a down payment on the wall, but it's critical that we do that.
Well, a down payment or a bridge loan until the Mexican government pays for it. Let's turn to the House Intel Committee. It's a conclusion, 150-page report. No collusion of any kind. Why is Bob Mueller still functioning as special counsel? And why is Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, saying really misguided things like Bob Mueller is not an unguided missile? It makes it sound like somebody has launched a missile, perhaps the Justice Department and Rod Rosenstein, directly against the Trump presidency.
Well, obviously, you don't ever want to see that. And one of the things, Lou, that we're seeing right now is the fact that we've interviewed 73 witnesses, some really months and months and months of investigating this. We found no collusion. And so Chairman Nunes has done a great job. He was right to call an end to this particular probe. But here's the interesting thing is when Bob Mueller was given the direction, it wasn't just to look at collusion. They were ambiguous on other related matters, which essentially allows him to be more unguided. Now, maybe he's not an unguided missile, but certainly he's able to look at a number of other areas that go well beyond the collusion. I can tell you my voters back home and your viewers and listeners truly want us to come to the end of this and get serious about the Trump agenda. I think the time is now to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you, as you know, Congressman Moore. It is stunning to me that the language he used, an unguided missile, he's not an unguided missile, suggesting that he is on a course trying to destroy the Trump presidency. That's the only inference that's possible from that. And it's time that people in this country understand, those who do not already, that you cannot make Bob Mueller superior in his powers over the federal government than the President of the United States. This is madness, what we're watching.
Well, when you start to look at wrongdoing in a number of areas and the type of investigation that's gone, it was really designed originally to look at collusion. I think that there has not only been no evidence found in the House committee, but there's no suggestion of evidence in other areas.
Right.
And so it's time that we bring that to a close. I can tell you that I'm really troubled by some of the evidence I'm seeing with regards to the dossier, the Clinton paid for, DNC paid for opposition research. It appears that there was more collusion with the Russians on that front than there is on anything that we found with President Trump. So perhaps we would be better off to start placing our focus there. And I'm
sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm hearing a lot of concern about Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, of which you are a part. Why in the world is he seemingly dragging his feet on that investigation into corruption in the Department of Justice and the FBI?
Well, I think part of it really, a lot of people want to put the blame on Chairman Gowdy. I don't know that I would go there at this point. What I would say is the documents that we've requested from the Department of Justice and the FBI are coming in at a glacial pace. You know, you mentioned that earlier as it related to the wall. I can tell you it's almost worse than that in terms of the documents. Out of the 1.2 million documents that the Inspector General has, we've been requesting those, and we've gotten less than 10,000 unique documents.
Unbelievable.
So the time is now for them to actually provide it so that we can do the proper oversight, and hopefully that'll happen soon.
Well, let's condense this down to what is
Sure.
the possible, the practicable, and the new issue, and that is this is President Trump's government. This is his executive branch. Why doesn't the President of the United States tell these people to produce that and turn it over to you now?
Well, I can tell you, obviously, under previous administrations, that might have happened. I can tell you this president is wanting to be above reproach. He's been accused of so many different things, and so he could weigh in. You're exactly right. He could call
Then why
Deputy...
not? Then why not do it? This is not a man who's afraid of anybody or anything.
He is not, but I can tell you this, that I think what he's doing is counting on people like myself and others on Capitol Hill to actually do our oversight and not weigh in heavily. But I can tell you our patience is running thin, and so we're going to be weighing in so the president doesn't have to.
Congressman, you know the American people's patience has been tried like never before. We're now sitting here in the midst of this, what is approaching a constitutional crisis, with a special counsel who has moved well beyond his mission is stipulated, ambiguities or not, that were attached to that by Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. It's got to end somewhere. It's got to be resolved. And the idea of funding government in any mission for any length of time that they choose to continue this protracted, meaningless investigation into collusion and then take off on these tangents is irresponsible, and it's ignorant on the part of the leadership of both the Republican Party, leadership in the House and the Senate. Do you not agree?
Well, I do believe that the time is now to bring it to a close, and you're right. I can tell you, having been back just home in western North Carolina, they're fed up with this. They're saying it's time that we get on and do what the president promised to do. They believe that this is a orchestrated effort to delegitimize this president, and so it is time that we draw it to a close. Hopefully, we will soon, and embark on other more productive efforts.
One last question, very quickly. Mike Pompeo, director of the CIA, the designate to become Secretary of State. Your thoughts?
He's a dear friend. Mike and Susan are dear friends of Debbie and I, and I can't think of a better pick. Someone who knows the president and talks to the president daily, and so he's going to be an outstanding Secretary of State, and I look forward to working with him as we move forward the Trump agenda on foreign policy.